Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you today how to do these crystal heart pendants. So these have been around for a while, but they're still really popular, especially in the smaller size. I would say they're a little bit more popular. You can do them in really any size that you want. These are 2 layers, so we're going to be doing the same thing twice. You can also choose to just do it a single layer. This one here is with 6mm Swarovskis, and this one is with 4mm Swarovskis. Both are with bicone beads. You can use round beads, but it gets a little bit different shape. So for this project, what we're going to need is we're going to need 19 crystals per side. So you're going to need 38 crystals total in whatever size and whatever colors you're working with. You're also going to need 11 OC beads if you're working with 4mm, or you're going to need 8 OC beads if you're working with 6mm. In addition to that, you are going to need 2 needles, and I'm using size 10 English beading needles. You're also going to be using some beading thread. I have .006 wildfire beading thread, and I have a thread burner here that I'm going to burn my ends with when I'm all done, and when I've also gotten these off the roll, I've burnt that as well. In addition to that, I use little flat nose pliers to put my needle onto my thread. I just squash down on my thread, makes a nice point to it, and then I can string my needles. So that's the materials that we're going to be using. I'm actually going to be doing 2 different colors. I'm going to be doing a rosy pink color here, and this is the fuchsia color. And then I'm also going to be doing the rose color. So I'm going to do the 2 different colors, one on one side, one on the other side of my heart, just to show you a little bit of variety. I'm also using the 11 OC beads. I'm using metallic gold lined crystal, and that's what I'm going to be using to make this little heart. So this is a 2 needle project. Like I said, we need 2 needles, and I've put 2 needles on the same piece of thread. And I'm starting out with a 3-foot length of thread that I've doubled over so that the needles are sharing on it. And what I'm going to be doing is basically a diagonal stitch. I'm going to pick up my first crystal, and I'm going to work specifically with the 1 color of crystals. So I'm going to kind of move my pink out of the way, and I'm just going to work here with my fuchsia crystal. I'm going to take the first crystal and let it drop down to the middle of my thread, and it's just going to hang out there right in the middle of my thread. Next, I'm going to take my needles and put 1 crystal on the right needle, 1 crystal on the left needle, oops, and let those drop down on the first, oops, and they're just going to drop right down next to the first one there. So you're going to have 3 crystals on. The next crystal that I add on, I'm going to actually crisscross the threads through. So one is going to go from right to left needle, and the other needle is going to go from left to right. I'm going to pull that tight and make sure that you're still in the middle of your cording here. So I'm making sure that I'm in the middle of my thread. I'm going to actually make sure also that my thread ends up here are the same length, because I don't want to run out of thread. You can tie on thread if you need to, but it's better just not to have to worry about it. So I have my little diamond there that I've created, and what I'm going to do then is get ready to add my next set. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to do 1 needle on the left, or 1 crystal on the left needle, 1 crystal on the right needle, and then I'm going to crisscross from right to left and left to right. And that's going to get that little cross section. And there's my little section. So that's going to be kind of the start of my heart. We're going to do, now we're going to add onto the right side. So what I'm going to do is actually poke my left needle into my beading nap, and I'm just going to work on the right side now. This is going to work with right angle weave basically, because what we're doing is we're going and we're making a little bump here of the heart. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding 4 beads. So I'm adding 4 beads, 1, 2, 3, 4 of my color, and I'm going to drop those down next to my beads. And what I'm actually going to do is create my little top of my heart there, and I'm going to run my needle down through the last bead that's on the right side and down. So you're running that right down and pulling it. You want to make sure that it's not twisted, so I'm going to untwist it there. I'm also going to pull the one on the left here just to make sure that I get that nice shape maintained. So you're going to try to maintain that nice little shape there. When my needle's coming out here, what I'm going to do is actually add 2 more beads, and then I'm going to share beads. So I'm adding 2 more crystals on to my needle. I'm going to sew through this crystal here, the fourth crystal that I put on last. And then I'm also going to take my thread and my needle and I'm going to sew up through the first crystal of that little section that I did. Pull nice and tight. And that's going to get me the side of my heart. So you can see that's a little side of the heart. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. What you can do if you're better working on the right hand needle is just flip it over. That's what I like to do. Poke that needle now that you're done with into your bead mat, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're adding 4 beads, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to let those 4 beads kind of drop down, and we're going to sew down through this bead there that's on the side. Again, I don't want that to flip, so I'm just going to kind of straighten it out there. Give a nice little tight pull. Make sure that you're not seeing a ton of extra thread. And then what I'm going to do is get ready to add my 2 to kind of fill in my space there. I'm going to add 2 more crystals, and I know that those are the last 2 that I have. I'm going to go through that 4th bead that I added on the last rotation, give a nice tight pull, and then I'm also going to go up through that 1st bead that I added and give another tight pull. Got caught around there. I'm going to get that out. And you're just going to give a nice tight pull. And there you have your first little section of your heart. So it's really easy to create these little heart sections. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to sew around the heart. To sew around the heart, I'm going to take the needle that's on the right. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down through the outer edge of my heart. So I'm sewing right along the beads that are on the edge of the heart. And that's going to kind of connect that top portion of the heart here to the bottom portion. And I'm sewing down, and then I'm going here. And there you go, and it's right there. And then I'm going to skip over to the other side. And I'm going on the other side, just down as well. Now that we're done one side of ours, you're going down here. And I'm going the whole way down. And then you're giving a nice tight pull. And now I'm going to set this down and I'm going to get ready to do my pink side of the heart, which is going to be a nice refresher for you on how to do the heart shape. So I'm ready to do my second side. I finished my first side here, and I'm going to do the second side in the exact same fashion. So I'm starting with another piece of thread, 3 feet long, and I'm using 2 needles again. I'm going to stick my first bead on, let that drop down to the bottom of my thread. I'm going to do a bead on the left, bead on the right, or left, right, left. And then I'm going to do a 4th bead that I'm crossing through from right to left into that diagonal stitch. Making sure my threads are even. I'm going to continue on, picking up a bead on the right, a bead on the left, and then I'm going to cross through one of the other beads. Bead on the right, bead on the left. And I've crossed through that. Then I'm going to poke my left needle into my bead knot. I'm going to do 4 more beads onto my right needle. So I'm doing 4 more. And then go into here. 4 go on. Again, I'm going then from my top here that I'm putting my 4 beads on, and I'm going through the first bead that's parallel, that the hole is running up and down. I'm going through that bead there on the right, keeping it from crisscrossing. Giving a nice tight pull. Whoops, open it up there. And then what I'm going to do is 2 more beads, and that's going to complete my little heart section. With that, you're going through the 4th bead that you just put on with the right needle, and you're also going through the first bead that you put on with the right needle. Give a nice tight pull, and that's going to get the one side of the heart. Poke your needle in, and again, if you want, you can flip it over so you can switch if you're a right needle versus left needle dominant. And I'm going to add 4 beads on with the left. Again, I'm going to go down that bead there on the left-hand side, and then give a nice tight little pull there. Put on 2 more beads, and I'm going to go from the that 4th bead that I put on, and then I'm going up through the 1st bead that are going on. And you're going to give a nice tight pull then. And that gets my heart. Again, then with my heart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew down the sides. So the needle that's here at the top on the right, I'm going to sew down through all the beads that are at the sides. And I'm going right down along the sides here. Going nice and tight. Switch into the other side. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other thread, going down that side. And I'm going the whole way down this side then. And going right down, that connects the heart really nicely. And then once I'm done this, I'm going to get ready to add the 2 pieces together of my heart, because I've completed my pink one and I've completed my fuchsia. So rose is done, fuchsia is done, and then what we're going to get ready to do is stack them one on top of the other. So I'm holding my hearts together, one on top of the other. And when I do that, naturally I have, after going through the sides, I have 2 threads that are going to be on one side of my bottom of my heart and 2 threads on the other side. With the 2 threads that are coming out of the right side, what I'm going to do is actually kind of do that similar crisscross pattern. I'm picking up 1 seed bead, putting it on my needle, letting it drop down, and then I'm going to take the other needle from the other heart, and I'm going to come in the opposite direction through that same little seed bead. Pull nice and tight, and then what's going to happen is you have that crisscross. The next thing I'm going to do is the needle that's on the right is going to go up through the pink heart, give a nice little tight pull, and the needle that's on the left is going to go up the left heart. And I'm going to get ready to do my next seed bead. So I'm doing that same pattern the whole way, where I'm taking a seed bead, going from right to left, and one left to right, crisscrossing through the seed bead, doing nice and tight, and then I'm going to go up the crystals on the side. And this same crisscross pattern is going to happen the whole way along both sides of my gemstone, or of my crystals. And what you're going to do is you're forming those together. So you're binding these hearts together, and you're just going to see a little bit of seed beads going right up the center line. So I've gone up the whole side now on this right-hand side with my needle and thread, and they're just kind of hanging out here at the top. What I'm going to do then is switch my needles over to the threads that were on the left, and I'm going to do the same thing on the left, picking up a seed bead, crossing through, and running up the crystals on the side in between to get that same effect and bind that side of the heart together. So here I am at the end of my crystal heart, and I've gone through here. And what I'm going to do to tie off my threads, because I have a lot of threads here, is I'm going to go around in a circle through my crystals. And what that's going to do is allow me to get some of my threads right next to one another, that I can then tie these off and then burn off the threads. So I can tie these tightly next to one another, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just give a nice tight knot on those. And then so it's out of the way, I'm going to take my thread burner. I'm going to let that heat up a little bit, and I'm going to go right in and burn off those threads and burn that down so I don't see a lot of that white there in between my crystals as well. Then I'm going to flip over to the pink side and do the same thing on the pink side. So my threads are coming out on opposite sides of my pink beads. I'm going to take my thread and needle around in a circle around those pink crystals so that my threads are ending in the same place. And once I get to that same place there, I'm going to take my hands and just do a little double knot on this side. Knot it once, knot it twice, and then again I'm going to burn down these threads. I don't worry usually with the heart too much about gluing it. You can glue if you want, but I usually don't worry about it too much because it's not something that you're getting a lot of tension on. I'm just going to pull it up and burn through my thread. And I've got my little heart pendant there. There's another number of different ways for you to attach this to a chain or to a beaded necklace if you want. If you are attaching it to a bead strand and you want to do some crystals on it, basically all you're going to do is run your beading wire right along where I'm running my needle, and it's just going to sit right nice and on the top. You can also run some beadable chain through there. I like the look of them when you run a little jump ring right through here that it hangs on the side. So a lot of these are hanging on the side. And all we've done is run some wire right through the 11 OC bead that's on the side. This one is going through the 8 OC beads that's on the side. And you just hang down just a little C bead from the C bead right there. Or if you're using beadable chain or a thin chain, you can just run right underneath. And it looks cute just hanging right on your chain. You can also attach chain to each corner, or a jump ring to each corner, a corner here and the corner here, and then it'll hang straight for you. And the nice thing with making it two-toned is that it does kind of become reversible. Whatever color is the lighter color, you're going to see the darker color through, but it still does make it a little bit reversible. That if you're having a pink day or a red day, you can wear it on either side. And that's how you do the heart. You can do it, like I said, in 6s, you can do it in 4s. You would get a really big heart if you do it in 8s. You can do it in 3s and get a tiny heart. And the size of the seed beads is just going to kind of coincide with the size of crystals. So a 4mm like we did, 11O crystals. 6mm, you're going to do 6 or 8O seed beads. If you're using 8, it's a gamble. You could either use 8O seed beads or 6O seed beads to seam up the side. And again, jump rings, you could do a little seed bead loop if you want, but I usually just like the look of keeping it real simple. Put a jump ring right on the side and have it hang to the side. So that is the little crystal heart. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you have any questions, definitely let us know. We'd be happy to answer for them. Hopefully you get a chance to check out our Facebook page and like us there and see some of our picture updates and all of our updates there. If you get a chance, go to PotomacBeads.com, look at our locations page, and check out a store near you. We'd love to see you in. So thanks a lot for watching.